Right, let's do this. Either is Pyro Traveler. I think it goes in B. Not because he's a good unit, but because Pyro Applicators right now are quite valuable for Chevreuse teams or Moani. And the others are kind of lacking, even Dendro nowadays, because Dendro teams are quite lacking outside of Nefer teams. Amber goes here. As a DPS, she isn't that good, and as a support, she really doesn't have much going for her. Like, at all, honestly, before C6. Kaya is. He can be a good cryo applicator, but in order to beat Rosaria, I'd say he needs C6, and trying to get Kaya C6 is really harder said than. No, done than said. Same goes for Lisa, but honestly, as a DPS, pretty meh. And as a support, she is okay, but long cooldowns and high energy requirements, I say give her a C. Noelle is a fine DPS, C6. She can go here. Barbara goes here. She's a fine option for Nilo, but I wouldn't really say Nilo was all that great without Colmina and Llama. Bennett, really fucking good. He's good for uh, uh, almost every pyro DPS except Hutao, but even then she's okay for Hutao. Same goes for Chaska, who's practically a pyro DPS. And she is fine for Navia. Navia nowadays has better teammates. But yeah, still he's good for a lot of DPS and mainly for Maverick. Fischl is a weird unit. Her kit is very good, but all mainly because of the Hex buff. But I'm not sure whether to put her here or here because when you look at the top teams right now, she really doesn't have a place outside of being for budget Flynn's teams. Kind of hard to call it budget either, but mainly because of how she brings out like lesser teams upwards. I say she can stay in A minus tier. I mean, A tier. I'm stupid. Sucrose is. She goes here. Mainly because Flynn's and Nefer are really good units right now, and she's very good for both of them. Nefer more so because she lacks good fourth options, and she buffs the EM, so she gives a team-wide EM buff. Before we say Nahida, Nahida only buffs the outfielder, so no EM buff for Llama. So honestly, Sucrose, as far as I know, is preferable. Razor, similar case to Noel, he needs C6, but more importantly, he needs C6 of his other teammates, so that honestly hurts him a lot. He does, when you get to his full potential, I would say he's better than Noel, but yeah, they're pretty much the same. Jean is a weird case also. She can be like somewhere here when the when she can use fall damage to cheese the boss fights, but when she can't, she's honestly pretty darn useless, even as a Verdus and Venerer unit, even with Farina because there's just better healers, even for free units. So I say give her like the in between, put her here. Diluc, even for Power Plunge, it's pretty middling nowadays. There's Eula, there's Escoffier, there's Fremine, and yeah, even so, other melee units aren't that far behind him. Mona, once it goes here nowadays, very good for Moani, very good for Skirk, mainly because in Stygian Onslaught, energy is a big issue, and compared to like Shenhe or Yelan, where if you build high energy for them, they lose out on other stats, while all Mona wants is ER, and she has and she has energy ascension. Xiangling also goes here. She's pretty much a very situationally better unit than Pyro MC, but most of the time I would recommend Pyro Traveler. And as a DPS, and 2026 she's very lacking. Hingshu also kinda nowadays goes here. He's a fine, he's like best, kind situationally best 4-star for Skirk. But like that's not really saying much. You can just use a 5-star unit like Mona or Shenhe. And outside of Skirk, there's Hyperbloom, I guess, with Llama, but that's about it really. The other teams aren't that great. Chongyun is a bit weird. His DPS teams, I would say, are like somewhere like Dillo plunge level of good. And as a support, he really doesn't have much going for him. Ningguang might go here. Before Linny, I would say she goes here, but now soon with Linny's release coming soon, she might honestly go here. I'll just place her here for now, but we'll have to see how she performs in the winning teams, mainly because of her geo application. Beidou nowadays also just kinda goes here. If we had more AoE content, she might go here or even here, but not only are there just better units for AoE damage, she's practically only for AoE damage, and we don't really have much AoE content outside of the theater. Even Abyss is kind of a boss rush nowadays. Coaching is a kind of like these two, but slightly better because she's kinda more easier to get. And yeah, that's about it for her. She's just a middling DPS. Still useless. Venti goes here. At his best teams, he's not really that performing much better than these guys. And he is kind of reliant on having Durin and Farazan. Kui, if she was just C0, she might honestly stay here. But because of the free constellation selector, you can get her C1 or C2. She can go here honestly. Her teams with C1 or C2 performs quite good honestly. Diona goes here. Before C6 she's not a real unit. At C6 she's fine, but even for a second cryo from Sidlali, there's just better cryo options. Assuming you even want a second cryo. Child goes here. He's pretty much a Escafia driver. That's basically a worse Nivelet. But still he performs fine, so I say he can stay here. Xinyan, even as a pyro applicator, there's better options. So, and as a DPS, she's really lacking like Amber. Zhongli can go here. Same with Albedo. These two are practically carried by Zibai in terms of usefulness. Albedo less so, but even then. Ganya teams, as far as I know, range around 90k DPS with Escafia. And I would say that's more accessible than teams like these two. So I'd say she can stay here. She could go down below, down to B tier though. It's quite debatable. Actually, I must put her B. I mean, just put her with Venti. For Shao, his teams are quite lacking, but more importantly, Farzan C6 is a massive deal for him. And even with Farzan C6, his teams are pretty lacking nowadays. Hutao C0 would honestly go here, but because of the free con selector, she honestly goes here. We're looking at her Binafa teams. She performs quite well on those teams, honestly, better than most units. And because of that, she can go here. Rosaria is a... Her kit is pretty middling, but because of most other options in like free situations, free to play situations, she can go here. Decent cryo application, some crit rate. And because of Maverick and Ayaka is okay, but it's mainly Maverick she's good for. Yanfei can go here, middling DPS. Eula is a weird unit. Her just pure physical DPS with just pure buffing or Escafia. Yeah, she could honestly go these two, but because of Power Plunge, I would say she's fine at B tier. Kazuha can go here. He's mainly for hyper carry Nivelet. Outside of that, just use Sucrose. He could honestly go B tier as well. Ayaka nowadays I would say is just a better Ganyu, so she can go. She should just stay top of Ganyu, and her teams can range around like 100k if at KQM standards, but that requires Escafia, and I would say she's fine at A minus tier, considering the certain other options that will go to A minus tier. Next is Sayu, pretty much the worst Gene. She should just stay a tier below. Yoimiya at her best teams range around 80k to 90k. She can go here. Aoi is like the unit I know the least from these units. But as far as I know, her teams are like on this level with Escafia. So I would say put her in B tier or C tier because she's unobtainable. Zara is not a real unit at C6, so she goes here. But if she is C6, I would say mainly here because Chlorine is still a fine unit. Actually, that's just Chlorine. It's only for Chlorine. She's usable for Versa, but just use Eon-san even at C6. Raiden as a DPS is pretty much Keqing Razor level, but she has Hyper Boom, so she could honestly go here. But considering how Hyper Boom is, even with Llama, probably B tier. Next is Kokomi. Kokomi is pretty much child. Just a different child, honestly. Same goes for Ayato, whereas Here Ayato, Kokomi, and Child are pretty much the same units. And Thoma is a fine pyro applicator. He gives shielder. He's a shielder, so some comfort there, but doesn't really do much outside of that. And because of how his pyro app works, it can honestly things can go awry with Moani and even with Kinich, honestly. So he can go. He's gonna go here. I mean, he does have Virgin, but Where is he? Yeah, just use Durin for the Virgin. Goro, yeah, same with Sarah. Not a real unit until C6, and at C6, yeah, saved by Zibai. He's pretty much a Zibai slave. Ito, same with the other middling DPS. You can go here. Shenhe is a good unit for Skirk, but I wouldn't recommend pulling Shenhe just for Skirk because units like Mona are just already good for her. So like I don't know about using Shenhe. I mean pulling Shenhe. Yunjin is a sad case, honestly. She goes here. Even for normal DPS, normal attacking DPS like Arakino, her form of buffing is just not good without the normal attack DPS being middling like Aito here. Also, her high energy requirements kind of hurt her. Yai, pretty much a different coaching. She can go here. Yelan, same with Shenhe. She is pretty much a Skirk slave nowadays. Yeah. Cookie is also goes here. Hyper Bloom, like I said, Hyper Bloom with Llama is fine, but eh. Hazel honestly goes here. He is like pretty much, oh no, I don't have Sucrose. Fine, I'll just use him. Same goes for another unit, Lynette. She's pretty much free, nothing better very disinfector unit. Koi goes here, or honestly goes here. Dendro application nowadays, just pure Dendro application isn't enough. Let's say put her C tier because in Nilo teams, I would say she's better than Dendro Traveler. Dignity, yeah, pretty much different elemented coaching. You can go there just because his teams perform fine, as long as you have Llama. Dory at C6 is pretty much here. Beforehand, she was like good, but good because Farina was just that good. But nowadays, nah, even at C6, she doesn't perform well. Candace, you might think is good, but Molani, she has Mona now. Even before she just went Shilonen plus Sucrose. For Arakino, she has Lali now. And for Skirk, she's good. But you can just use Singshaw. But she might just go here only because of Skirk. Or even here. But I'll just put her here for now. Sino is, again, just a different coaching. Nilu is a hard one. I'll say put her here. The Bloom team, like I said, Dendro teams without Nefer aren't real, or I mean, either Nefer or Bina Lama. They're like kind of B tier on material nowadays, which makes Nashida B tier. Like I said, Sucrose is better for Nefer, and outside of that, Nashida kind of lacks usage. Loyola is pretty much Diona. She's good for the Cryomech, and that's about it. Like, you have Yeah, Venti, I guess. Shao and Far's Wanderer are pretty middling nowadays. Which, speaking of which, these two are pretty much the same. Farzan reliant, even with Farzan not really that good. Like I said, Dendo teams aren't performing that well. And yeah, she doesn't really have much for outside of healing. Which same goes for these two. They really don't have much going outside of their sustain. Hytham teams perform fine, but he is kind of the weakest link of his teams. He can honestly go either of these two tiers. I'll just put him here. Dehia's pretty much a different Thoma. He can go here. And as a DPS, we don't talk about her DPS. Mika is another Skirk slave. You can go here mainly because just because Skirk. Next up is Kave, who is very good in Nero teams. But Nero teams without Columbina is Columbina Lama, and you can go here honestly. Winnie is, as far as I know, his teams are like similar to Hutao and Kui. I'll say just put it in here. Next up, Fremine is pretty much Eula, 4-star Eula. Rithsui, I say just keep him here. He's pretty much a slightly worse Aika. Nevelet, I would say he's fine here. The 100k DPS range. So yeah. Charlotte, or Charlotte, I'm not sure about her name pronunciation. Pretty much same thing as Mika, Skirk Slave for the free to plays. Farina is a bit hot take. I'm not gonna say she's S tier. Honestly, nowadays she's A tier. Maybe because she's a Skirk Slave, and outside of Skirk, we have. I mean, it's good for Kui, but Kui also has Chevrius. Same goes for Linny. Novelet is only for high investment. At lower investment, you would rather have Binefa teams. Same goes for Navia. As far as I know, Binefa would be preferable at lower investment, but at higher investment, sure, Farina is good. But as a DPS, also, even at our best teams, she can stay here. She gets close to 100k range. Next is Chevrius. Honestly goes here because she's good for not only good for a lot of teams, she's like insane value for units like Versa, Kui, Winnie, a lot of either great DPS or just pretty decent DPS like him. Gaming, another power DPS that's good. A lot of power DPS are just quite good, honestly. He does require cons, but he has Lantern Right, so I'd say it's fairly doable. Shanyun, let's go here, either here or A- tier. But because of how she impacts her own teams, I'd say she can go here. Her teams aren't that the greatest things, but they're fine, and when they do work, they really want Shanyun. Well, sometimes. Maybe because Gaming can want Escafir more than him, more than her, but yeah, she's good nonetheless. Jury is pretty much Albedo. Albedo's only tier She's carried by Zibai being good. See you next Arlecchino. I say she can stay here. She's pretty much the same as these guys. Just another good pyro DPS. Chlorine also stays here. Her teams range around 100 to 120k. So, yeah. Same goes for Versa. She's pretty much a slightly better Chlorine. So, Sethos is wants cons first of all, and pretty much these guys, but slightly better. Emily, uh, Emily does have the official Electro DPS plus Durin teams, but there is also C6 Chevrius in that slot, so. And outside of that, I wouldn't say she's all that valuable. There's Kinich and Wild Good. You can very much replace her. Next up, Kachina. Pretty shite, honestly. Even as a scroll bot, there's just a lot of options now. And you can use her for Navia as a free to play, and that's about it. And it's fine to use Kachina, and better than say Zhongli for Navia, but yeah, so I can say she can stay C tier. Who next? Oh, I forgot Siwin. Also, she can stay here. She's pretty much a Chi level usefulness. She does have good with constellations. I would say she is good, but alas, I'm assuming C0 for 5 stars here. Moani, yeah, she can stay here. She might even go here, honestly. But because of her gameplay issues, I would say A tier. Kinich, just an overall good DPS. Shlonen nowadays pretty much only for Navia, kind of for Malvika, but she has other options. And outside of that, yeah, it's pretty much Navia. Arlecchino has Escafia, has Sucrose, Formel teams, and outside of that, she also has Chevrios teams, so I'm not sure where to put her. I'll say she goes here. Next up is Chaska. Not sure whether she goes here or here. Her team DPS is good, but she has some RNG factor, and she isn't that good at AoE, but honestly, outside of theater, we don't really have AoE content. I'd say she's fine here. Malvika. Okay, I forgot Oron. Yeah, he can stay here. He's just a scroll bot. Malvika can stay here. She's still one of the best DPS in the game, and certain units she is still the best support or partner dual DPS. Lanyan is pretty much the worst Sucrose, but for comfort. So pretty much Hazel and Lynette, but I would say she is more useful than these two because she does have a shield. Silali mainly carried by Malvika, but because of how good Malvika is, she can stay here. And she's also still good for units like Arlecchino or Neuvillette, stuff like, or Gaming. Gaming very good. Pretty sad unit. Pretty much the worst Sucrose like these two. But she needs to be on field. Freaking why? She can go here. Just she can sometimes be better than Bennett, but overall, I would say Bennett is like a stronger unit overall because of how he matches against Yansan in most teams. Eva, it's, he's pretty much these guys, but he can also be good. He has good partnership with Binafa, so I would say he's honestly better than these two. You can go here. Same with Zelali. She's good for a lot of units while also being very good for a certain uh, top. Well, nowadays, just a pretty good DPS. That DPS being Skirkus. Pretty much, I say her and Mavoika can always just stay in the same tier nowadays. At least for nowadays. Future, not sure. Dahlia, pretty much a Skirk slave, so enough honestly stays, can go here. Good for a bunch of units nowadays, but her team, like top teams also are pretty much S tier level. I know is a weird case. Her kid is pretty much down here, but because of us not having a not, not cry hydro applicator outside of Columbina, she can also go B tier. But just know if we get more hydro applicators, she can also go here. Her kit's just not that good, even with constellations. Okay, so Flynn's honestly goes here. Not gonna lie, his teams are like very good, but he's honestly the weakest link of the Benefic core, or his own team. So he honestly goes A tier. Loma is kind of like Escoffier and Silali, but I would honestly say less applicable to other teams. She's nonetheless a very important part of Nefer teams. Speaking of whom, another unit that would go up here, but even with Columbina, she's honestly not that great. She really wants Lama to perform to an S tier level, so I would say she can go in A tier. Hmm, he can go here. He's mainly just for his versatility, but also he's kind of a certain units like Venti and another DPS, whereas the Vark, who goes here. These two are very reliant on Durin, and because of that, plus his versatility, I'd say he can go in A tier. And speaking of Varka, he's honestly here. His teams perform fine, but fine plus very reliant on another unit. He's honestly stays here. Yahoda, even at C6, is pretty much just use Sucrose, so. But she's a VV unit after all. She can stay here. Columbina is also another weird case. Her teams perform like S tier, but that's her best teams. Without another Not Cry, she's practically close to useless outside of Navia teams, so yeah, she can stay here. Iruga, another Zibai slave. Without Zibai, even for Navia, he's not even that good. And we have these two, who at their base level are just good DPS, good units, good DPS, but combined together are like very insane. So I'd say that alone makes them S tier or even other tier alone. But for now, I'd say because you need 2 5 stars to gain the top level, I'd say she can stay. These two can stay here for now. This shit's stupid.